Welcome, my friends, to the Temple of the Forbidden Eye.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You are watching probably at Disney, and if you're like me and have been wanting more news about Animal Kingdom's new Tropical America's Land, I've got you covered today as I came across some new details and concept art for the new Indiana Jones ride replacing Dinosaur, and which is scheduled to debut by 2027. And believe me when I say, if you've been worried about this attraction and if Animal Kingdom has lost its way, don't be. If I wasn't before, I can safely say now this is my most anticipated new attraction that Disney has in the works. Also, as promised, I have a theory for you, and I want to emphasize that it is a theory and it has to do with Magic Kingdom's Villains Land and that coaster that caught everyone's attention when Disney dropped this artwork months ago. But first, and if you haven't already, I would so appreciate if you would like this video and consider subscribing to the channel. It is a crazy time to be a parks fan with so many new projects on the way, and I'm looking to share insight, news, and updates on whatever I can. All right, with that out of the way, let's get to the news. So several days ago, newly crowned Disney legend and former Imagineer Joe Rohde, who was the lead Imagineer for all of Animal Kingdom, Pandora, the World of Avatar, Aulani, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, and more, clued his Instagram followers in on his recent visit to Orlando, where he attended a conference at Coronado Springs called Maya and the Mouse, and which was partly put on by consultants for Tropical America's Land and Imagineers. I will point out that Rohde praised Imagineer Kyle Price, his team, and Animal Kingdom's maintenance and operations team, and he said, and I quote, "Animal Kingdom is still as much as it should be." He also took a tour around the park with the Animal Kingdom team to talk about finishes and patina, which I was glad to hear since I personally feel that's been lacking in some recent Disney World projects. And honestly, if you're not following Joe Rohde on Instagram already, you need to be. His social media posts about the parks are like TED Talks and offer some of the best insight into not only the job of an Imagineer, but also the psychology, purpose, and secrets of design, why we guests respond the way we do. The fact Disney wants his feedback on Animal Kingdom's Tropical Americas is one reason why I have more confidence in this new Disney World land than any other. Now, Rohde did not give too much away in his post, but what he did share was encouraging in that authenticity, design, and detail seem to be a significant focus of this project, which puts to rest some of those concerns about IP invading the park or it being a copy and paste of Disneyland's Indiana Jones attraction. But then, a different source shared even more. So the following info I'm about to discuss comes from Len Testa from the Disney Dish podcast. He attended this conference in person and shared these details and photos. So all credit to him. He also warned that everything which was shared is in development. This means it could change, and what he relayed comes from someone who is not a mine expert. He doesn't claim to be a mine expert, so just keep that in mind. And while I'm going to pass on quite a bit of what he shared, I'm not going to tell you everything because I want you to go check out the podcast and the time and effort that he put in. But I am sharing some really intriguing highlights and some things that caught my attention, beginning with confirmation that one of Animal Kingdom's common threads will continue at this Indiana Jones ride, and that is the theme of nature reclaiming the land. We see this all throughout Animal Kingdom, including Pandora, the World of Avatar, and it lives on at this Indiana Jones Mayan temple, which will have plants and trees growing on it and out of it and seemingly overtaking it in various areas, all of which is going to contribute to the illusion of age, as it was revealed that this temple's timeline is set at the height of Mayan civilization. Len Testa also warned that the fountain that's going to be out front is a bit of foreshadowing in terms of the story and what guests might encounter inside and while aboard the attraction. Now, one of the new pieces of concept art that was shown at the conference is Indiana Jones doing some archaeology work outside this Mayan temple. But what really caught my attention was what was in the background, as it offered another perspective of this temple, the overgrowth, some scaffolding, and what we guests are likely going to see while outside the attraction. That supports what looks like rubble leading the way towards the ride itself in the early concept art. Now, I know I've said this before, but I believe that half of Restaurantosaurus, especially this area, may connect to this Indiana Jones attraction once the redos are complete, because I think it would be easy, if not obvious, to make that Indy and his archaeology team's base camp and extend that ride story we're seeing here out into the land a little bit. It would also keep a bit of Dino Land's archaeological dig site theme alive and possibly allow for some great Easter eggs for that original land. Moving right along, the next bit of info has to do with the supernatural threat that we and Indy will encounter inside the temple. Now, Len admits he wasn't 100% confident about this, but through presentations of decorative elements on the temple and explanations about them, it seems like Kulakan, the Mayan feathered serpent god, and I hope I said that right, if I didn't, forgive me, will play a part in this attraction along with the Mayan rain god in the Yucatan, known as Chac, and that is Chaac. In the podcast, he further noted that there were elements that stood for storms, tornadoes, rain, and wind, raising the question of whether those are the kind of effects we guests can expect while aboard the ride. Side note, having a feathered serpent god is kind of perfect for this Indiana Jones story, given that he's already afraid of snakes and serpents, and snakes are seen at the entrance in the concept art. So character meets culture here, which is the Animal Kingdom way. Next up, this test concept art shows an idea of the temple's color palette. And in addition to that rich red stucco, there will also be touches of green, blue, and white, as well as exposed stone to show weathering. Also, and you have to go listen to the podcast for more information about this, but the intricate carvings and symbols on the exterior of the temple will tell the temple's story, and the colors actually play into that. But one particular carved symbol I want to mention is a reference to the Mayan world tree, which is right at the top here, and the world tree is kind of reminiscent of the Tree of Life, which also happens to be Animal Kingdom's icon. So in this way, Imagineers are tying real-world culture to the park itself. And while this wasn't mentioned in the podcast, that Tree of Life symbol is the exact same thing that Indy finds in the concept art that Disney has already showed us from inside the attraction. So my question is the Tree of Life this attraction's holy grail or Ark of the Covenant? If so, what a perfect way to make this IP work within the context and history of the theme park. Lastly, we also got a quick glimpse of a lighting study of what the temple may look like at night, and the color may suggest that something is going on inside, especially in this quarter of the park, which is already kind of dark, but will really make it more spooky and thrilling, while also telling guests about the story before they even step inside. So that's all I'm going to share. Again, there is more to learn on the podcast, but still, this is quite a bit of info for a ride that Disney hasn't talked that much about just yet. Encanto is still expected to be the first new attraction on the docket in terms of actual construction for Tropical Americas, with Dinosaur remaining open for the time being. But still, this Indiana Jones ride is scheduled to open in 2027. Now, before we get to a theory concerning Magic Kingdom's Villains Land coaster, we gotta pause for a second for today's What You Probably Didn't Know at Disney segment, which is when I dig up a hidden gem from the parks. And in keeping with the spirit of today's video, I'm focusing on the history of Dinosaur and the future home of the Indiana Jones attraction. So when the park first opened in 1998, Dinosaur was known as Countdown to Extinction. But the name of that attraction was changed in 2000 to Dinosaur to promote the Disney film of the same name and which starred the same dino, which was an iguanodon. Well, Dinosaur has been the ride's name for 25 years now. You can still find its original name while in the park. So right across from Dinoland's dig site is a collage that's in a glass case, and it contains notes, scraps of paper, pictures, and an in-universe hand-drawn Dinoland map with Dinosaur still labeled as Countdown to Extinction, as well as Dinosaur Jubilee. And this was an opening day walkthrough attraction in Dinoland where character interns would give amusing tours to guests. This also closed in 2000 to make way for Dinorama, which is also now closed and is the future site of Animal Kingdom's Encanto attraction. All right, back to the rest of the video. So as soon as Villains Land was announced, park fans knew a coaster was part of the plan, and it's actually one of the clearest elements in the concept art and appears to be inspired by Maleficent, the villain of Sleeping Beauty who transforms herself into a dragon. It is interesting to me that Sleeping Beauty's villain gets a ride at Magic Kingdom instead of at Disneyland, where the castle there is Sleeping Beauty Castle, but I digress. Unlike most Magic Kingdom coasters, the track appears to be exposed but blends in with the thorn and brambles from the film. But the most dramatic and shocking element of the coaster is this view here, which shows the coaster seemingly underground, and there's even an additional track down there too. Now, as Disney continues to move forward with its two new Cars rides in place of the first half of the Rivers of America and in preparation for Villains Land, we're learning more about these projects, and it's worth noting that this half of Villains Land is expected to be built over the most distant area of Rivers of America, with the Dark Ride, Village, and shops and the land's entrance more towards Haunted Mansion. So the Villains coaster, this Maleficent coaster, looks like it's going to be built on top of the Rivers of America. If so, and here's where the theory comes in, could the river, once drained, play a part in the surprisingly low elevation for this coaster? Could guests find themselves traveling through the Rivers of America, minus the water, one day? We know that excavation and elevation are expected to play key roles in the Magic Kingdom's upcoming attractions and lands, but have we considered what Imagineering is planning to do in terms of creating this somewhat submerged coaster track? Could this be why Disney remains so committed to removing the rivers, Tom Sawyer Island, and the riverboat? Again, it is a theory, or rather something to consider as we park fans await more news. But I will mention this is not the first time Disney has planned a dragon-themed coaster, as Animal Kingdom was originally slated for its own dragon-inspired thrill coaster for its never-built Beastly Kingdom, and which was supposed to be Disney World's first suspended coaster, the latter which we're just now getting with the Monsters, Inc. Door Vault coaster at Hollywood Studios. And this is why there is a dragon today in Animal Kingdom's logo. I wonder if that will hit differently once this Maleficent coaster joins the Magic Kingdom's ride roster, and if the castle in the Villains Land concept art is a callback to the castle and dragon coaster from Beastly Kingdom. Well, that is all I have for today. Please let me know what you think about these new Indiana Jones ride details and your take on this villain's coaster theory. Again, if you love Disney Park news and analysis, but with a slightly different take, I would so appreciate if you would like and share this video and consider subscribing as more news and information is rolling out in the coming months. But regardless, thanks so much for taking the time to watch, and I hope you have a magical day.